Okay, so Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney just got announced by Turkey Al Sheikh to take place in November. Now, this is a huge fight at 147-pound division. That's the welterweight division. Two undefeated American fighters going up against each other. Devin Haney, again, in my opinion, daring to be great and face another really tough challenger in Brian Norman Jr. Of course, Brian Norman Jr. walking into the fight will be the much bigger fighter, the natural welterweight, whereas Devin Haney's coming up from... Well, his last fight was at welterweight, but throughout his career, Devin Haney's spent most of his career at 135, 140. So again, moving up and establishing himself more at 147. But against a guy like Brian Norman is he's a serious puncher, right? And that's the one thing you take away from his last fight, which was his most... impressive win and against the biggest name of his career in Jin Sasaki, where he stops him dead in the 5th round, puts Jin on his ass, and he's out for the count, right? Huge shot. And of course, immediately when you hear that guy who just put Jin Sasaki on his ass is going to be fighting Devin Haney, you think, well, Devin Haney can't really take a shot, though, especially not from a 147 Brian Norman Jr., who's knocked out a number of guys in his career. Granted, none of these guys are at any sort of world level like the sort of level Devin Haney's operating at, but nonetheless, you're still knocking guys out, right? You can only beat what's in front of you, and he's stopping dudes, right? And you've got Devin Haney, who's took a beating from Ryan Garcia and still hasn't looked like he's recovered from that, right? Now, if you're getting caught largely got mollywopped by Ryan Garcia, I don't want to see you be taking those punches from Brian Norman Jr. you know what I'm saying? Devin Haney undoubtedly has got the far better resume. He's got wins over Gamboa, Linares, 2 wins over Kambosos Jr., a win over Lomachenko, and of course his most recent victory where he basically ran for 12 rounds. Maybe this is part of Turkey Al Sheikh's, new rule, new anti-running rule, running away rule. Because Brian Norman's going to force you to either fight or run away, right? And if you run away against Brian Norman, you better hope you can keep your distance for 12 rounds. Because if you can't and he catches you, he could put you on your ass, like Ryan Garcia did, right? But yeah, clearly Brian Norman Jr. will undoubtedly be the biggest puncher Devin Haney has faced. And on the other hand, Devin Haney will be the best boxer Brian Norman Jr. has faced, right? The performance against Ryan Garcia was a bad performance, but do not forget the George Kambosos wins. Do not forget the Lomachenko win, where even though it was definitely close, very competitive, and no doubt arguments could be made that Lomachenko won that, but understanding Devin Haney was in that fight, he was very competitive. He definitely was winning the early rounds and was doing a lot of really good body work. Devin Haney knows his way around a boxing ring. He's been boxing for a long time now. He's an experienced pro at this point, despite feeling like he's still quite young in the sport. Let me have a look how old Devin Haney is. He's 26. He's 32-0 and he's 26. That being said, Brian Norman Jr. is very young too. He's even younger than him. So you got 2 young, undefeated heavyweights clashing at welterweight for a world title. That's good stuff. Like, that's good matchmaking from Turkey Al Sheikh, and it's going to be an interesting fight to say the least. Right, I think Devin Haney will no doubt be trying to get a world title at welterweight, obviously following being a world champion at super middleweight, being a world champion at super lightweight, he'll no doubt want to win a world title, a WBO world title against Brian Norman Jr. at welterweight, and would definitely add to Devin Haney's legacy. Definitely add to his legacy. Another unbeaten guy who he's beaten. Of course, he took George Kambosos' which is a big deal, obviously, following that George Kambosos beating Teofimo Lopez. But yeah, we'll see what's next for both of these guys. This is a super interesting fight, and a fight that I'm looking forward to. No doubt I'll make a video about it nearer the time as well. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.